Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 0 to 60. It's the first day that we've got some sunshine.
Yes, so that means we can finally
Load up this transcooler and see what it's doing.
give it a bit of a test run.
And the intercooler, sorry.
Yes.
I can't believe we've had like rain for 4 days solid since I fitted that. Initial thoughts on that intercooler in particular. The boost does not feel any more laggy at all.
No.
I'm getting wheel spin in third gear at really slow speeds, which I've never had before, so it's I don't know if it's the colder temps bringing it onto power more, but it is definitely not a hindrance performance-wise from what we can feel driving the car. Intake temps, it's currently 27 degrees outside. We have been beaten on the car a little bit before we started this filming, and the intake temp is sitting at 32 degrees, so we're getting a 5 degrees Celsius rise over ambient temps. That's good.
Well, that's amazing. Like, we have literally, you're just off camera, been doing pretty hard pulls.
And it's about, I think we're within a degree or two of ambient temperature that we were when we tested the 5-inch cooler, and that was sitting around 40 degrees Celsius, which is the same as what it did when we fitted it to Dylan's 335 as well.
Yes, correct.
So it's a fairly significant 5 to 8 degrees Celsius drop with normal driving with the 7-inch cooler versus the 5. That's mega. And like nearly 20 degrees Celsius drop over a stock intercooler.
It's worth doing already.
Okay, Dave, I think we just need to settle the camera gear up and go and load it up and see what it does.
Put your foot down, eh?
All right, let's get into it, guys.
Let's do it.
David hasn't been in the car since I put the intercooler on, so this is your first ride in the intercooler, but let's go and put it through its paces. We did load it up on the highway and it felt pretty good.
She's quick.
She is. Don't know why I'm indicating. Ready? Gonna be manual mode, full traction off.
We good?
Wheel spin.
Damn, son.
Has a lot of wheel spin.
Wow.
What do we do?
0 to 100 in 4.75. So, yeah.
Holy crap.
She hooks up.
Just let it keep going.
Shit.
That's alright. It's alright.
It's still running. Still going.
Yeah, cool. Alright, ready for another one?
Yep. It feels way more like everything's under more load.
What time did it do?
4.73.
Holy shit, we're on this crappy road.
Yeah.
Damn.
Very damn.
So we've picked up 0.2 of a second on this surface.
That's...
And the temps.
It's nothing. It's not even... There's nothing.
What you haven't seen in this video so far, guys, we probably did 20 little like power roll-ons through first and second. Not full-on runs,
But still, like, enough.
Actually, yeah, I'll do another one.
Okay. There's a truck coming.
Yeah, I just didn't want to get in his way, but we'll have heaps of time.
Oops.
Are we ready?
Go.
How do you go time-wise?
0 to 100 was 5.08.
Slower,
Yeah.
but I wasn't quite so an aggressive start.
It didn't feel as hard.
Cool.
Didn't feel as vicious.
What was
Wasn't not much off it.
So, unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to check the temps. Well, to work out how much cooler it is, but I guess we need to go back to the office and work out how much cooler it is.
Yeah. I think it's going to be very, very a lot cooler.
Certainly feels snappy. And those two runs, sub 5 seconds, like pretty easily.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I know, to be honest, I was being a bit more gentle on that last one, trying to stop it from breaking loose.
Right.
It was also short shifting as well. Quite a few people keep saying
It felt like a bit of a short shift.
you need to shift at 5.
I was going to say, did you just short shift? Because it just didn't have the
aggression on the shift.
Yeah, it just didn't feel as hardcore as it normally does. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're definitely better off shifting at the higher RPMs.
100%. It's so much more lively.
Even if the power flattens off, obviously as it gets back into the gear, it's higher in its power band.
It's more at closer to peak power.
So we just got back from the test runs, and we were beating on this car.
Yeah.
Like that was probably 30 pulls in the space of 20 minutes.
It was a bit of a workout for it, but looking at the gauges, it didn't bat an eye.
Yeah, unfortunately we got so excited I forgot to start logging on the JB4. That is my fault, but we have got a screen capture, so we'll be able to see from that recording what the oil temps were doing, what the trans temps were doing, and what the air temps were doing.
Yeah.
And everything just, that's the coolest this car's ever run, and that's probably the hardest I've ever driven it.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, normally on an easy 0 to 100 run, without all the extra pulls you were doing, the temps would have peaked much higher than they did just then.
Now, before we go and analyse the data and actually have something useful, a couple of people on the transmission cooler video said that I'm going to have problems because I wasn't cutting holes into the wheel arch. And now I know a lot of guys have done that, and I did think about it. However, something I noticed after I'd installed the transcooler. Do you want to show them, Dave?
Yeah, so basically these E92s, I guess it's probably the same for all E90 chassis, they don't actually have an inner, well, the chassis, whatever you call that stops just there, and then that is all open, and that big plastic thing you can see is the wheel arch.
Yeah, that is the wheel arch right there.
Which means this hole that we've cut at the front, that we've made visible to get air to the transcooler in this section, actually opens up airflow directly into the engine bay.
Yeah, do you want to shine the light through? And just make sure they can see that. And pull the light away and shine it in. And do you want to bring it up here? So yeah, basically this whole area here, where my hand goes down easily behind the headlight, that's now got air coming in from the front of the car through this front hole that we opened up. So that is the air that's going to get to the cooler. It's going to go through the cooler. Can you see the back of the cooler from up here?
It must be close.
You can see the lines just down there. Maybe if I can just get... hopefully the GoPro can just see that red fitting. So that's where the transcooler is, and then you've got more space than I thought. There's probably an inch behind the back of the transcooler and the guard liner.
It's perfect.
So the air is coming through, going through the cooler, and then coming up all through this space. The other positive of that is I've now got some more cold air coming into the dual cone intakes.
Yeah, so that's really two positives. One, the air doesn't build up in the wheel liner and bend that plastic into the tyre, but it also just lets it through into the cold air intake, into the dual cone intake.
Let's go and have a look at this data we've recorded and see how much cooler everything's running. So, I have had the pleasure of having a quick look through all the footage and checking temperature information, that sort of thing. Dave is just sitting down to review it for the first time. Now, this video was a bit of a scatter, so I do apologise, but I hope this all makes sense. Now, yesterday, when we were going through the footage, we have here, let's talk about the transcooler temps first, because they were something this car really, really did suffer with.
When you're giving it a hard time.
Yeah, I've just brought up the old video. So this video here that's the E85. That one is that's the pump flash. And on that run, when we did the first 0 to 60 episode, the transmission got up to 98. That's just on 98 pump fuel. Then the E40 flash, we're pumping out a little bit more power, and it hit 101. That's in the 0 to 60 episode. And can you remember? But I think that was around, I think that episode we did do quite a few runs. We might have done 4 or 5 attempts at it.
Yeah, to try and get a good time.
Yeah, and by the time we went to the E85 flash for the first time on 0 to 60, it peaked at 86. However, when I first loaded the E85 back-end flash, do you remember taking you for a drive that first time in the gearbox?
Yes, that's right.
Just had a meltdown.
That's right.
So when I first ran the E85 flash on an E50 mix, I think I was on that day, I basically took the car for a thrash like I did normally, but I'm beating on it harder than normal. And the trans temp hit 110.
Damn.
And
that's about when it has to shut off, yeah.
Well, I don't know if it has to do anything, but at that point it wouldn't shift.
Doesn't like it.
I just remember it just stayed in first gear and just bounced off the rev limiter. It was like we thought we'd blown something up. So after I had that scare, ever since then I've been very aware of trans temps, which is why we'll only do I think we did 3 runs and we'll let it cool down.
Yeah.
So we're just more aware of the trans temperature, but my gearbox feels happy in the 80s, and I don't really like it being up over 100. and it was at 110 when it had its meltdown that day. Now, yesterday, what we actually recorded, just going through here, the transmission peaked, I think, at about 81. 82.
Damn.
So also, what you guys have just watched as well, we did so many pulls before we turned the cameras on and started recording, and then we were loading it up on the highway, trying to get heat into everything, and it's just much harder to get heat in. So absolutely beating on the car, and I think we did about 5 0 to 100 runs, like on that stretch of road. We recorded the last 3 of them, but yeah, the transmission peaked, and that was after we wound out that.
That's right.
Particularly high gear.
Long run.
Yeah, so the trans cooler 100% works. The way that that's mounted without having the guard liner blocked off, it's fine, isn't it?
That's awesome, yeah.
Now, intakes. Intakes have never really been a big concern for me with my car because I pretty much put that 5-inch stepped intercooler on when I first got it, and I'd watched intake temps a few times, and they were sort of nothing to really worry about for the type of driving we were doing. Fitting this 7.5 inch, the car is running cooler than it ever has before. So even on that long pull yesterday, where we really wound out, you guys can work out what gear we wound out, I'm not even going to say, but I think just there, red, you can see the red, that's the rev limiter. After being on the power for, well, we know, it was nearly 16 seconds of flat outness. The intake temps peaked at 48, which is, it's high enough, but under full load, and again, DME's, well, JB4's targeting nearly 20 psi, that's a fair bit of heat going through everything. And being under 50C, I'm okay with. Now, when we do our normal sort of temperatures, and this sort of, so the 0 to 100 runs, which is what we normally pay attention to, that 7.5 inch cooler won't even get near 40. You can see, where's that rev limiter flash up? There it is.
Bang.
So it's like 36 when we get the rev limiter flash. I think the efficiency for the type of driving that I normally do, so I don't normally wind out 4th gear. This cooler is a lot cooler. But the reason we actually did wind out 4th gear yesterday, because I think if you go into the 7.5 inch race cooler, you're probably doing some higher speed type driving, where I think a lot of the guys with the 5.5 inch probably aren't going that fast at wide open throttle.
More street stuff.
What do you think? I think both, for the money of those two, they both, well, obviously the transmission cooler is a huge upgrade from just having that heat exchanger, and that 7.5 inch China cooler is definitely working better than my 5.5 inch stepped cooler. I haven't tried a VRSF race cooler, but I'm...
They look so similar.
Yeah.
It's got to be a copy of the VRSF one.
This, yeah, that cooler that's now on my car, someone has ground off where a VRSF logo used to be, and the fin density looks like the first version of the VRSF cooler. So I'm sure that the new one is better, but for the money of what these ones cost to get them down to Australia, it's working well.
And in terms of actually installation as well, this whole, both the cooler and the trans cooler, it's a bit of a no-brainer to do. If you are beating on your N54 pretty hard or taking it to the drag strip or whatever,
just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my trans is definitely going to have a lot more enjoyable time when we're beating on it.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably going to sum it up for this video.
That's a bit of a win, I reckon.
Look, if you've enjoyed it, please give it a like. Please give us a subscribe if you're interested in following this build. And next time we do this sort of thing, I'll try and remember to put logging on the JB4. So I don't have to go back through and watch all the old videos. All right, guys. Look, thank you very much.
See you in the next one.